This video is in response to the last video of the Pocket Bushman. After watching it, I decided to take one of my other knives out, and I decided to grab this one since it's made out of the same steel. It's the, I think, 4116 Crump. It's the I don't know how well you can see it. My light sucks. It's cold steel, Finbair. It's made in Taiwan. Not a bad knife. Fixed blade, where the Pocket Bushman was a folding knife. But I took it and decided I'd baton it through some stuff. Baton it through some cedar, you know. It's about about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, depending on which end I was batoning through. Did pretty good. No real problems. I even had to baton it through a few knots in it and didn't have any problems. Just took a little bit of extra force and it popped right through them. No damage to the blade. Then it was a piece of oak that I had batoned through some of it, and it was a piece that was probably about 1/2 inch square top, and I batoned straight through it, through a little knot in it, and it didn't have any problems. And it was some really tough oak, because when I cut it with an axe, it took a lot of effort to cut through it. And afterwards, there was a pine core nearby that was basically just the heartwood of a pine tree that had fallen. It was still fairly solid, so I decided to see what it'd do cutting through it. And surprisingly, it did very, very well. I mean, I couldn't take lots of it at a time. I tried to minimize my lateral forces in any direction, you know, the bending of it when I pulled it out, just to try not to put any excess stress on the blade. But it seemed to do very well. Fairly quickly, I mean, it cut later on. I ended up cutting the root off of it to try to get some fatwood off of it, which I'll probably process later, but ended up cutting through it, and although it was probably in the 3-inch range at the trunk, where I cut it out was probably say about 1.5 inches, maybe a touch more than that, and it seemed to cut through it very well. In fact, afterwards I used my Quartermaster by Ontario and to cut through a piece that was a little further down, that was maybe 1/4 inch thicker than that, so you know, about 1.75 inches. And surprisingly, this knife being a little bit more of a acute edge with its hollow grind and a little bit sharper tip, or at least a little sharper edge that I had on it, it seemed to do better than the Quartermaster actually, because it would cut into the wood more and not want to push off into the groove I created under the V cut that I did. And I was able to, because of its sharpness, I was able to keep widening my groove as I went, so I could baton through it very well. As you can see, there's a little bit of you really can't see too well. Sorry, this thing's kind of can't really see too well, but it's I got some pictures that I took that I'll add at the end. But it's got a little bit of dirt on it. It seems to be pretty good. The blade doesn't seem to be in too bad a shape. I ran my sharpening stone over it just to liven up the blade a little bit, but it seems to do pretty good. So my suggestion is, if you're going to use a knife made out of this steel, just well, I wouldn't use it for bushcraft for any heavy wood processing. In a pinch, if this is all you have, like they tried to sell the Pocket Bushman for, you could use it in a pinch, but I would be very, 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 very careful and be very, very, very selective with what I use, or I'm trying to cut for a fire. Because in the field, if you broke it, that'd be very bad. I mean, for the weight of this knife, which it's pretty light, and to be honest, in my kit for the moment, I have it's a similar knife. It's the same. It's a cold steel instead of being the Finbair, which I bought this just because I wanted to see how the grip would do with its you know, kind of reverse teardrop shape. It seems to be fairly comfortable in hand. It does take a little bit of getting used to because it doesn't feel like more traditional knife handle designs. But as I say, in my survival kit, I use the roach belly. It has a little bit more of a curve to the blade. And instead of being so straight, it comes and it curves up a little steeper. But I haven't had a chance to really use it too much yet. But both of them and the Canadian belt knife, all three seem to be fairly good knives for the money. I mean, mind you, they are $12 knives, so I'm not expecting the world, and they're not super thick. I think 2.5 mil is what they're listed at. And, you know, mind you, this is, you know, this steel is primarily more of like a kitchen knife steel, so I'm not expecting to like take down the rainforest with this thing. I mean, I would mainly be using it for like maybe some intricate carving if I had to do that, maybe notching in a pinch, you know, not wood processing, definitely no wood processing unless my other knife, you know, my Trailmaster, Recon Scout, or Marine K-Bar were busted or broken or lost or something of that nature. This might use in a pinch, but other than that, I would not use it. As well as the Pocket Bushman. So for all those people that don't know much about steels, I'm just going to explain it to you. If you're going to for heavy wood use, I would go with a good carbon steel, either like 5160 spring, 1095. Don't buy cheap stuff. I mean, what I mean by that is a good brand. The heat treat of the steel is almost more important than the steel itself. That's why guys like Buck, who use a Bose heat treat on their 420 HC, why that knife for the money is a lot of those knives are almost always for the money are such good knives, is simply because the heat treat's proper. If you get them too hard, the blades will want to chip out, or possibly the whole blade will want to break. If you get it too soft, it'll want to bend. Your edge will want to roll over and not hold an edge or not be able to sharpen very well. So just remember that when looking for a knife, you know, a good knife has a good steel and good heat treat, you know. And sometimes you can find really, really good knives for money. I think this is a fairly good knife, not a super good value. I mean, you know, it's not a super good value. I mean, there are probably better knives out there for about the same money, or a little bit more, made out of better steels. I do wish this was made out of a little bit better steel, but for the money, I'll use it. If it breaks, I'll go buy another one. It's not the end of the world for me, so hope this is helpful to somebody. See y'all.